I'm here. I'm here. Get used to it. Happy Wednesday. Back up. July the 21st, 2021. The 44th installment of whatever this is. Beyond the Double Red Doors. Glad to see a bunch of you could make it. So I guess we can just kind of kick off by addressing the elephant in the room. I cut my hair. I did not cut my hair. My hair was cut by a person who knows how to do such things. And I felt a lot better after I had it done. So I think it was the right choice. I don't know if it was the right choice aesthetically speaking. Don't know. But I like it, and I like the way it feels, most importantly. Like I instantly felt 5 degrees cooler, which for me is significant and important. So, hi everybody. Say hi to everyone in the chat. Katerina, Pavi, Colorful Dreams, Elxie. I know you people. Q, KJ, so KJ Oftenson. Let's see if the other KJ appears. Maddie, good to see you. I already said Samantha, right? Warp Raven, good to see you as well. Ah, there's the other KJ. The other KJ. I've resisted labeling KJ1 and KJ2 because it seems to indicate some cardinality there, which isn't really accurate. LQ, how are you doing? Oh, I like your avatar, LQ. I think that's new. The blue hair is new. Or maybe it isn't. And I am just like hopelessly unobservant and out of touch. Ava, hi. Good to see you too. Your book, Ava, for those of you who don't know, $100 last week or the last week. I think it was in the respin. It might have been 2 weeks ago. But made this really incredible book, and she shared a bunch of pictures of it on the Discord. So, check it out if you haven't. I thought it was really cool. I should have screenshotted that stuff and shared it here tonight. Not thinking. Ms., good to see you. Oh, Carolyn. Carolyn is here, which I think we have some celebrating to do regarding Carolyn, but maybe, I don't know. Carolyn, you let me know if there's some celebrating in order. Larry Lee, I have seen you before. How many people, like honestly, how many people color their hair so they have a very memorable avatar? Does it work like that in real life? I mean, I've had my hair colored different colors before, but it really does seem like I look at avatars and remember things. It's like, oh yes, the blue hair, the red hair. God, I'm old. Ramona, how are you doing? Oh, PG has returned. He was gone for a bit. Now, PG's back. What does this mean for the world at large? And more importantly, what does it mean for the stream? Maybe we'll find out. Isra, good to see you. course, Butterfly Composer. Okay, Interstellar Sea Cow, and remember you too, because, well, this is imagery and avatar. I'm a visual thinker. So cool. That means we can talk about, congratulations, Carolyn. Carolyn was hired on at a place. I don't know, at a place that I spend a lot of time, a website I spend a lot of time reading, and sometimes spend some time wishing it were a little better. And I would guess that now it's going to be significantly better. And so obviously we should celebrate, like, anytime something good happens to anybody in the chat. So be sure to, like, don't be shy to kind of call out your own shit. Oh, your hair isn't blue, LQ. I suck. See, from looking at the avatar very small, it looks like the ends of your hair are blue. Now that I have it blown up, it's clear your hair isn't blue, and I'm an idiot. Yeah. So, okay, tonight I have a few things I wanted to talk about prior to the possibility of, I don't know, maybe reading stories or not. So one most of you probably know, I was lucky enough, so lucky that, and Pavi is getting, you know what? Pavi is getting vaccinated tomorrow, and we're about to talk a little bit about that. Let me go ahead and do this before it gets too warm to drink properly. Cheers, all of you. Adult onset type 2 diabetes to you all. May we beat the statistics. Kind of burns. It's fine. I'm okay. Almost completely recovered from the scooter incident. It only took a month. And yes, I am back on the scooter, but very tentatively wearing a helmet now, even though my head did not get hit in the most recent debacle, me against the sidewalk ledge. Anyway, guess what? As most of you know, I was lucky enough to get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So, if you've been following the news, there's been some speculation has arisen in the past 24 hours as to the efficacy of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine versus the now prevalent Delta variant in the United States. Specifically, 83% of new cases are the Delta variant, present as the Delta variant. And, it's a lovely little chart here showing so it's showing the vaccine's response, antibody response, based on, right, so efficacy is vertical, and how many antibodies are produced or how many antibodies are neutralized is horizontal. And you can see that, so the J&J vaccine is the AD26CoV2S, and the Pfizer is mRNA 1273. Actually, I think that's Moderna, but very similar, right? So you can see that this is against not even the alpha variant. This is against the standard virus. So it's sort of the non-turbocharged virus. It was already lagging, significantly behind. In some ways better and in some ways worse than the Chad vaccine, which of course caught my attention because I miss Chad. But also, pick a different, string some different initials together so that it doesn't say Chad. And then it occurred to me as I was reading up on this, how much, and it really is, like how much when I read these briefs in the Lancet or the NIH releases or on the CDC website or whatever, so much of it feels like bits of flavor text in a dystopian game. For instance, here is a little bit on the J&J vaccine. Or actually, this is the Chad vaccine, which I forget what it was called, but it uses a chimpanzee. Never a good idea. I know there's like all this talk about sort of increase of function going on right now, which seems like even if you're not aiming for increase of function, if you're messing with viruses, there's always going to be a chance that maybe a happy accident would be, or an unhappy accident would be an increase of function. That is something that maybe would only be transmissible amongst chimpanzees, all of a sudden can make that leap. After all, we're only 1% different genetically into humans. So I see something like this. The pandemic of severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus SARS-CoV-2 might be curtailed by vaccination. We assess the safety, reactogenicity, and immunogenicity of viral vectored coronavirus vaccines expressed as a spike protein of SARS-CoV-2. This totally reads to me like something like, ooh, I'm in really kind of reminds me of Control a lot, or Half-Life. You read something like this and you're like, okay, now when in the next level or whatever am I going to see something take a dire turn? And voila, here it is. Several cases of unusual thrombotic events and thrombocytopenia have developed after vaccination with recombinant adenoviral vector encoding the spike protein of antigen. Severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2. More data were needed on the pathogenesis of this unusual clotting disorder. And then, if this were a game, then when you got to the next level, right, the next area opened up or whatever, you'd probably see a bunch of people that just bled out all over the floor, right? There would just be people lying on the floor, probably blood coming out of every orifice. Maybe one of them wrote like a little handwritten letter before they died. It's like, yeah, we should have listened or whatever, right? And then your job is stop the virus. And in case it isn't clear, I am replaying Control. Now that I have the PS5, I can actually play it. Whereas on the PS4, if you try to play Control, you're not really playing it so much as you're kind of watching the slideshow of color whenever there's more than two enemies with special attacks coming after you. And you start doing things like flying and breaking walls and throwing a whole bunch of debris everywhere. And there's all this colorful trail. And then all of a sudden it's just like, you might as well just put the controller down. A slideshow is not conducive to Twitch action games. But I am replaying it or playing it all the way through this time. Hopefully, I'm not done yet. On the PS5, the experience is much better. It's actually a beautiful game. The combat is a lot of fun, and I generally don't like combat. But the combination of it does a good job of making you feel powerful, which a lot of games. I realize there's like this I guess the incentive of getting better and better, and so it's good to feel weak at first. I don't know that I ever felt weak in Control, so maybe it loses a bit of that curve, and you have the kind of the Mario trick of showing you, like in World of Warcraft, you level 1, you log in, you go to Iron Forge or whatever the fuck, Goldshire, and you see level 60s in all this gear. You thought your gear looked cool, you were level 1, you had something that looked kind of like chainmail with a couple of, pauldrons, and you had a sword. It's a blade. It's a freaking blade. How much better is a sword once it has all the little spiky bits on it? Arguably, it's worse, right? But you see the level 60s with all that shit, and you're like, that's it. I got to play until I got what that person has. And you got FOMO. You got virtual FOMO. The FOMO. Anyway, what was I? Yeah, I've heard. Oh, look, Writing with Ink is here. How are you doing, Writing with Ink? You look worried. You look worried in your avatar. You look worried. I hope that you're okay. I got this a lot when Control first came out. I do like the character of Casper Darling. We'll see. It may be a little bit too late, but possibly. Does Control use actual ray tracing? I don't even know, right? But if it does, I wouldn't be surprised if it did. Oh no. I got a serial killer haircut. How is this a serial killer haircut? In what way? Name me a serial killer who has this haircut. Oh, wait. I can't recall any serial killers who were quite this. Look, it kind of, you can kind of go like that, and it just kind of stays where it was. Doesn't really go anywhere. It is very spiky. I'll give you all that. Anyway, so I got the Johnson & Johnson, which now there's debate. I'm sure it's going to be a few more days before they finally announce that. My guess is they're going to say, if you got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine or the AstraZeneca vaccine or any of the one-shot vaccines. In the United States, there were the only one-shot vaccine that had temporary approval, emergency approval, was Johnson & Johnson, but in other countries there are others. I'm guessing they're going to say, like, if you got that, then maybe you want to top it up. Just top it up with an mRNA vaccine. So many things about that day I regret. It keeps getting worse and worse. Oh. Well, I didn't see the compliment. I missed the compliments, but that's nice. I'm glad some people like the compliments. Hi, Olivia. Good to see you. Who else? Of course, Indigo is here. Causing trouble. Grace is here. Hello, Grace. Yeah, that was great. That story was great, Grace. I loved it, and I loved the reading. So I thought that was fantastic. Let's see, what else? What do we got? Jeff Bezos. Do we want to talk about Jeff Bezos? Here's what I don't get about Jeff Bezos going into space. I grew up. When I grew up, like, it was the 80s, right? Space fever was a thing, and the Cold War was a winding down thing. There was a lot of excitement. There was a lot of fiction writers were writing about the possibilities of space travel and space exploration. The idea of sending people to Mars seemed like a very reasonable decade or two timeline. Say in 1983, the idea that we would have people on Mars by 2000, and tons of people living in the International Space Station by then was almost like considered a safe bet. You had Carl Sagan's Cosmos come out in 1980, which apparently has been the book has been translated or has sold more copies than the Bible or something like that. Some crazy statistic with the number of people who have consumed and were they consumed it and it consumed them. They were really going on and very excited about like all the possibilities. It just seemed like this was the time, right? And there was not the method of communication or the methods of communication that exist today that allowed for the type of disenfranchised outrage to be bubbled up to the top. So it was even easier to ignore back then. It's still, people still ignore it. They ignore it now, but it's not that easy to ignore, right? But in the 80s, you could be a billionaire and you could do whatever the hell you wanted with your money, and odds are people wouldn't know about it. And it was much more difficult to get a sort of coalition together to kind of voice opinions about what should or shouldn't be done with this vast wealth inequity. And certainly it's arguable that lack of knowledge might have been what catapulted the increase in the wealth inequity, alongside obviously myriad other factors. But I guess my point is, like, when I was a child, when I was a kid and even a teenager, like, these ideas were planted in my brain super, super deep. And they were things that I thought about all the time. And I would go in my backyard and I would do that thing where you lie down and you look at the stars and you're just you're looking at for us down south, there was, Orion's Belt, always Southern Cross, Cassiopeia, Sirius, right? The Pleiades, always, break out the wide field binoculars and you could actually see the gases from the nebula birthing the Pleiades. There was a Southern Cross Astronomical Society I always go to. So a lot of excitement around this, right? The idea of Space Camp, there was even a movie about it. Get in the multi-axis trainer and you kind of go around like that. I think, it took carnivals a few years to learn that might be a fun ride to get people to throw up. So it was just permeating the social fabric, was this idea that, astronauts that was something you could aspire to be, was an astronaut, and everyone wanted to go to space. And the idea of going to space was like, hey, look, we wouldn't have had ballpoint pens if we didn't go to space. We wouldn't have had vulcanized rubber, whatever, all the different, lots of things that were developed for space travel, space exploration, ended up having practical uses on Earth. But I was a child, and then I grew into an adult, and I put childish things away. Do I think there's value in sending humans to Mars? Yes. Do I think there are more pressing matters that we should be spending our time and effort and attention on? Also, yes. Do I find it, I'm going to stop talking in this stupid rhetorical question way. I find it very strange that a lot of times, like when you hear about conspiracies and someone tells you the details of what they think this conspiracy could be, usually, a lot of times I'll have one of two reactions. It'll be like, well, there's no way that could be pulled off, or like faking the moon landing. There's no way that the number of people that would be involved in something like the moon landing would have the presence of, or 9/11, right? The number of people that it would take to do that kind of cover-up it presupposes a level of competence that I don't feel like we have or have ever had. Democrat, Republican, Independent, doesn't matter. Green Party, libertarian idiots. So you have these conspiracies that's like, okay, well, there's no way. Somebody would have blabbed. There'd be evidence somewhere, right? And I know there are people who are going to be like, oh, well, look now, right? Like the Navy is saying that these things are UFOs. This is now proof that a UFO has a very specific definition. UFO is an unidentified flying object. It is not an alien craft. And admitting to seeing a UFO is not the same as admitting to seeing aliens. They've become a bit synonymous, unfortunately. And although I certainly am, I don't know, you do the Drake equation, take into account the odds of there either is other life in the universe, I would guess, or there was, or there will be, right? Maybe if life is such that it blossoms, blooms, and burns out in a scale of a few million years, or even a billion years. Well, let's say 100 million, a couple 100 million years. Then it's very possible that the timelines of intergalactic civilizations wouldn't overlap. Maybe we were seeded by. Nobody still really knows, right? The creation of life, where it actually started. Maybe we were seeded by such a species. Who knows? I don't have any idea, but my guess would be that this kind of craze right now about UFOs, things that have been declassified, will probably end up being a bust, which won't stop conspiracy theorists. They'll just believe that, they kind of let it get out, and then they kind of acknowledged it, and then they pulled back, right? This idea of the ability to control information, I think, is fairly unrealistic, I suppose. So you have conspiracy theories that are either so incredibly difficult to pull off, it seems, that they would be pretty much impossible to do without something getting out, like the Navy having to eventually admit that they saw UFOs. Or you have conspiracies that are like, well, that's the dumbest way you could do a conspiracy. If you were really trying to commit a conspiracy, enact a, what's the verb for what you do with a conspiracy? Perpetrate a conspiracy. Then you wouldn't do something this completely transparent. And Jeff Bezos, man, look at this. First of all, right, the dude, he wants more than anything. You know what he wants? He wants to be Scott Glenn from The Right Stuff, All the Right Stuff. But he's never going to be Scott Glenn. Jeff Bezos, you're never going to be Scott Glenn. You may have all the money in the world, but you're never even going to be, honestly, frankly, you're never even going to be your brother. It's his brother, screen right to Bezos's left. Bezos's brother seems to have gotten the better end of the stick when it comes to the distribution of genes between their parents. I don't know. I think he's cute. But obviously Jeff Bezos is not stupid. I mean, obviously he's incredibly intelligent. So why would he go on this trek into space, get criticized for it, and then immediately give these philanthropic $100 million gifts out to a journalist and one other person, I forget, Van Jones and somebody else. It's so, it screams damage control. And maybe this was planned for a long time. Even if you're as rich as Jeff Bezos, maybe dropping $200 million on two people probably requires some planning still, right? Not something that could be done in a day, but maybe it could be. I don't know. Maybe this was planned for a long time. That's even worse, because if it was planned for a long time, surely they knew, well, maybe let's not do that the day after I go to space for 5 minutes. Space. The outer ionosphere, wherever they reached. Don't know that you, I guess technically it's space. I don't think falling is this, well, I mean, I guess when you're weightless, essentially what you're doing is perpetually falling with no ground to speak of to hit. Let me stop talking for a second. Hey, Flaglo, good to see you. Space. If I'm talking about space, shit, did I just mute myself? Did I? Oh no, there I am. Okay. When I'm talking about space, I should definitely turn up the reverb for space. This is right. Moonraker. What a Bond film. The worst Bond film. Arguably. Hello, Indy. Good to see you. Let's see. I like this cue. I think part of the problem is, isn't hunting people for sport? Rich people hunting people for sport. Like, that's literally the plot of The Most Dangerous Game. My guess is that Jeff Bezos might have a plan for such a contingency. Hey, Voice Quills. How are you doing? Let's go down to the bottom here. Make sure. Yeah. And I wonder what sort of analysis paralysis creeps in there. I mean, what they're doing or what they have done is like long-term stuff. But the idea that you're just like, it's not enough that, let me turn the reverb off here. This is getting on my nerves. You don't even have enough time to do the things that you want to have done. You have to have a team of people like just getting you the things you want. You don't even have the time to get the things you want. Crazy. Oh, Indy, you are the indigo. You're another indigo. Okay. Yes, I see you. I like that. That's a cute picture. What's everybody talking about? Hey, Mafarath, how are you doing? Everybody. That would be a conspiracy. That would be great. Yes, there was an 18-year-old on that flight because that 18-year-old's parents paid $28 million to do it. And I guess it seemed like a good PR move. I don't know. God. This Carolyn, this was so tone deaf. So freaking tone deaf. What is wrong with the guy? I think he must be in a bit of a disinformation bubble, right, or a perception bubble, or that, altered reality field, wherein he thought, like, hey, people would really, in general, like the fact that he went to space. I don't know, man. Space Age ASMR. That's right. This is space age ASMRs and let's find out domain. So go check them out. My astronomy knowledge is basically limited to, Isaac Asimov, Carl Sagan, Richard Feynman, Julian Schwinger, some other authors. It's a layman's understanding, and it's woefully out of date. As Jerry would say, Pluto is still a planet in my book. Am I doing mouth sounds? Oh, gosh. Okay, let me get down to the bottom of what people are saying. So imagine you're born well, I think it seems like what happens in most of those cases is they fizzle out or become heirs themselves. But it does seem like it's, like you're not going to get me feeling bad for those kids, right? But I'm also not going to be like, well, there's no downside to it, because clearly there's a downside. As long as he's shady, you're going to have to live in his shadow. To quote the Eminem. Oh, but you can. Trump did this. Trump claims he was self-made. Like Fred Trump made him go out and make money on his own. Not true. God. Anyway, so Jeff Bezos went to space with his older brother. Richard Branson went to space. I don't recall who with. Who's next? Whatever happened to Lance Bass going to space? Lance Bass was supposed to go to space. Ashton Kutcher was supposed to go to space. Who else was supposed to go to space? Oh, Unbuilt Nuke. Thank you. That was done with so much love. I basically know most of Cosmos by heart. I've seen it so many times. If you want to make an apple pie, you must first invent the universe. In fact, one of the most ASMR sections of the original Cosmos series, I think it's the opening of episode 6, where he's baking or watching an apple pie being made, and then he proceeds to cut it, and he says, if I were to want to get this apple pie down to a single atom, how many cuts would I have to make with my knife until I reached that indivisible single atom? The answer is about 98 cuts. I don't remember how many cuts it was, but something like that. It's an exponential decrease, much like they try and fold a piece of paper in half more than 8 times. PG went to the moon. I believe it. Man. What else did I want to talk about tonight? I wanted to talk about pandemic entertainment. I want to talk about, you know what I want to do first, though? I got to show this. Is it here? Voice quills. This really got to me. Something about the body and the way, even though it totally doesn't fit, it also, fits great. And the way I'm looking off, sort of ignoring, it's just so lovely. And even the way like you can't read really the 1080p, it's all perfect. Thank you for that. I was laughing for at least 5 or I don't really laugh a couple of seconds. But anyway, pandemic entertainment. I've probably talked about this before, but I'm going to talk about it again. So here's my postulate. We have lowered the bar on what we will accept as good entertainment because of the pandemic. And my exhibit 1, which will probably send a lot of you into apoplexy, is Ted Lasso. Take a moment. Ted Lasso, the Jason Sudeikis vehicle, which is I think only available on Apple TV, and has been like heralded as being this incredible thing, largely because of its innocuous nature. It's not mean. It's not cynical. It's not really satirical. Well, it is satirical, but it's not mean-spirited, I guess. But wow, Ted Lasso has been... First of all, I disagree with this right now. Right, let's stop this right now. No, Tiger King was good. Tiger King was good. That guy needs more. I realize that the movie with Nicolas Cage folded, but John Cameron Mitchell is doing a Tiger King movie. And I love John Cameron Mitchell. Probably would have preferred to see Nicolas Cage just to see all the crazy, right? But John Cameron Mitchell and, Mr. Schreibvogel, Tiger King, Mr. Tiger King. Shoot, maybe this is a bad idea. Maybe I shouldn't have brought this up. Does nobody knows Ted Lasso? Well, that's the interesting thing about it is Ted Lasso. The premise of Ted Lasso is an American, Jason Sudeikis, goes to coach a soccer team, a football team in the UK, right? And the first thing that struck me about it is there's something going on there. There's something going on with American comedians doing shows in the UK where the majority of the actors are British. And just like off the top of my head, Ted Lasso, did I mention Ted Lasso? The Adventures of Todd Margaret, very similar kind of fish out of water thing where a tip got approved where David Cross plays the sort of bumbling Todd Margaret, but he goes over, it's probably a bunch of the same actors as people have pointed out when we were watching Inside Number 9. It seems like the BBC has a stable of about 20 actors. It's kind of like the old Universal model from the 50s where they would call the same actors over and over and over again. I know Matt LeBlanc, didn't he? He did a show that was him it was filmed in the UK, shot in the UK. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if BBC or ITV. I don't really know that much about how British television works. I know like Granada consolidated to become ITV with something else. And I know like there's BBC 1, 2, 3, and 4. Is there a 4? I know it's very different. It's a very different kind of model, and it's public funded. There's Dave TV, which has been bringing Red Dwarf back from the dead over and over again to my delight. Except for, what the hell, man? If you ever have, look, maybe this is advice for future screenwriters So, and I know a lot of you can write. So, when you're writing your screenplays or you're writing, the episode of season 8 of the show that you created, the moment you get to an idea that is something like, hey, what if our characters meet the actors who play them in real life? So the characters are real, and then they come into the world, and then they meet the actors who play themselves and play the character, and they meet each other in real life. The moment you get that idea comes across the table, it is time to say, I hope I got enough episodes for syndication, residuals to last me the rest of my life, and let's hang it up and go on. I just think Ted Lasso, okay, so since people don't really know what Ted Lasso is, or most people here don't know what Ted Lasso is, I won't go on about it, but it's pablum. It's inoffensive. That's the best thing I can say about it. It's inoffensive. I was going to say it's mildly entertaining, but in any other situation, like I would not sit through that. I'm going to, like on Netflix, there was that Jason Bateman show, Ozark, right? That was another one. I sat through that whole thing. I sat through all of Channel Zero. I sat through a whole bunch of crap that I never would have sat through if it weren't for the pandemic. Oh, I said pandemic. It was not a conspiracy, I promise. But I think there must be some kind of tax break or something going on there where you get an American name so you can appeal to American audiences, but you can film somehow funded by the BBC, and then, distribute to multiple. I bet you there's some kind of like cash cow loophole there. Ozark, yes, it was Ozark. No, I'm sorry. Hi, Amy, by the way. Incorrect. Episodes appeared to be filmed in LA, but it was actually filmed in the UK, made to look like LA. And the establishing shots were filmed in LA, but the show itself was actually shot in the UK. I only know this because, well, I don't know how I know it, but I know it. I'm sure. But Amy, you're fantastic. But no, it was not. It was terrible. It was horrible. I was so glad when they moved on in the season after. And when they moved away from, like, they were like, oh, let's get rid of the laugh track and let's be more serious and let's try and really say something. I appreciate the effort, right? But you're not going to have Crichton. Crichton's always going to, if Crichton's not being funny, he's just being annoying. And if, Arnold Rimmer is not being an asshole, then he's just being an asshole. It's just being boring. Oh, man. Well, this is kind of what I felt too, was I was just like, okay, yeah, this guy just takes everything at face value and is just kind of a roll with it kind of person to the point of it making me ill. And there's a couple actors in that show that I really like who are British, but and it is about sports, right? Although that's not an automatic no for me. It is probably a point against it. What are you going to fight me for, Bobby? You do or you do not? Hey, I don't want this to be the case. If people have a differing opinion, I definitely want to hear it. Okay, we'll see. Yeah, if it's a personal, like your mileage may vary. Sorry, Carolyn. What happened here, Katerina? Did you accidentally start writing in English? This is I was disappointed in that episode too. Yeah, or that movie. It wasn't really an episode, right? It was a movie that they broke into 3 parts. But again, whatever. People love it. People don't love it. I've recently read a couple of books to try and, I guess, offset my consumption of bad TV. Oh, hey, it's Kucha Zucona, 1996. I remember you very well. Don't be sorry. I'm glad you're back. What is this thread about? You probably catch up in the chat. It's basically I'm complaining about crap. Igor. It's a good point. So, praise not because of the quality, but because it fits the narrative people want, right? So, we need light comic relief. We need something that's not so serious. And I would paint with the same brush that I'm painting Ted Lasso. I would paint John Krasinski's Some Good News. It's just a bunch of bullshit. I don't know. I guess I'm sort of a, no, I'm not. I'm no good either. Nobody's any good. We all suck. Anyway, book reviews. So I read a couple of books over the past week or two, and I wanted to share them with you because I thought they were very good. I've read more than this, but I only want to share the ones that I like. Brian Evanson's Father of Lies. So some of you might know I'm a big Brian Evanson fan. He writes a lot of short form horror. I'm right now in the middle of another short story anthology by Brian Evanson called The Wavering Knife. This is actually a novella, I guess. There's a novella, somewhere in between there. Really dark. It is talking about content warning stuff. Let's just say things the Catholic Church has been accused of, and not go any further than that. It talks about stuff like blood atonement, which is it's a Mormon way of repenting for your sins by literally spilling your own blood. There's a character in it called Bloody Head, which I think that's a great name. I know there's like Murder Face and stuff like that, but Bloody Head just kind of resonated with me. This was written in the 90s, by the way. And so anyway, great book, dark book. Another one I really liked was Stephen Graham Jones's The Only Good Indians. In part, so the way Stephen writes, like it just, Brian Evanson tells excellent stories. Stephen Graham Jones is an excellent writer, like I think, right? Just sort of his choice of words and the way he paints a picture, spot on. Like I don't think that Stephen Graham Jones even necessarily needs a particularly good story to give you a riveting novel type experience. And that's not saying that this is not a good story. I thought this was a good story too. In fact, it made me never look at elk the same way again. I don't want to spoil in case anybody decides to pick either of those up. I'm not sponsored by that. I am sponsored by, no, I'm not sponsored by Wild Blackberry CBD gummies. Oh, you go away now. You're in my face, Stephen Graham Jones. 25 milligrams of broad spectrum CBD per gummy. It's been I've spent years now trying to find an effective sleep aid. I tried Xanax. I take Xanax, but it doesn't really work for sleep. Mirtazapine, Ambien, yeah, the gamut. Like I've basically tried pretty much every prescription sleep aid, and really, some of them work, but the after effects are such that they basically, it doesn't do me any good. So wake up with a hangover, basically. What's the point? These work. If you have not tried CBD, if you have not tried CBD, I really do recommend it. It's nice. So here's what I want to do is I want to, oh, you all want the Ridge wallet? I got the Ridge wallet right here. Got it right here, still using it. It's been a year and it shows no signs of kind of coming apart. You know, not to flash my cash here. I guess my long-term review of it would be, it's sometimes a little bit clumsy when you're trying to get a card. I don't want to show any cards, but when you're trying to get a card out when you're paying somewhere. Remember, for a long time, when I had this, I wasn't actually going anywhere, right? So I was only using it like to order stuff from home. But when you're in a situation where you need to get a card out in front of other people, it can be a little bit clumsy. But if you want one, you know, be sure to use code FOSALE, 10% off of a massively overpriced thing that, I don't know. It made me ask questions. Oh, there's Chad. Wait, there's Chad. It made me ask questions like, why has the wallet not been redesigned? Like, really, I don't know that this is the final form, right? But people should be taking more shots at redesigning the wallet. I think this is closer to where it needs to be than the traditional folding wallet is. Okay. Grace. Yeah, it's been, the first couple nights I got nightmares. I don't know if it was related or not. It felt like it was, though. But then they went away. And now, you know, not only that, like, I found that I don't need to take them every night, because it's like once you get in that rhythm, sometimes I don't need to take it, and it's fine. So it's not like I'm like, oh, I need to take that gummy, right? I'm never going to get to sleep. It's not like that. All right, let me try something else out here real quick. What happened? What's up with Ava? Wait a second. What just happened with Ava? Oh. Well, I don't want to pry too much, but I wonder what the secondary effect was. There are some weird secondary effects that opiates have. Constipation is one of them. Right? Rapid heartbeat can be one of them. Respiratory depression is one of them. Oh, you couldn't breathe. Yeah, so like respiratory depression. That's awful, Ava. I'm sorry. So I really wanted to give everyone a sort of, well, now see, here's where things are about to go off the rails. By the way, I haven't shown you this yet, but check this out. You're going to love it. Ready? Ready for this? You're so far away now. How are you doing? I gotta come over there and say hi. Oh, I can't. I'm attached. I'm attached by the... I can't come up to the lens and say hi. Anyway, This is not a Blackmagic camera. This is the Canon camera, so the colors are a little different. They don't quite match, but it's an interesting kind of like, it's like zooming in. Here, watch this. If I do it this way, it's this. Yeah, and you can see what I have over here, which is kind of what I wanted to show you. I got another compass arm, and I got the two microphones set up on it. Binaural, nonetheless. Let's check that out. It's gonna work. I think this is gonna work. And if we do it here, then wait, let's try this. Okay, so this is in one ear, and this is in the other ear. Let me know what that's like. Brush one while whispering into the other. I do wear pants. Actually, I usually don't. I'm only wearing pants. Excuse me. This is getting very confusing very quickly. I usually will wear pajama pants or something. Now, here I'm actually wearing, real pants. And by the way, this is how I most of the day I will sit like this, or I will sit like that. But does that put me too high in the frame there? Puts me pretty high in the frame, but that's fine. That's okay. I can be high in the frame. Let's turn those down for a second. All right, so here's where I will go into based on this reaction with Ava. I don't know. All right. I'm going to do it. Because this is meant to be like a behind the scenes kind of thing, right? Oh, you can see my Moog. That's a Moog over there, in case you're wondering. I know you're wondering. It's very prominent in the scene there. And you might also notice why does it seem like my level is lower? I don't know if that's true or not, but you might also notice I have the gobo light doing its thing, making it look like there's an open window on the wall opposite me, when there isn't. It's fake. Good night, Stupor Mundi. All right. All right. I'm gonna just be totally honest with everybody now. Yeah. Speak up. Are you telling me I am lower? It looks like it's just as high. But I don't know. Is that better? How about that? Is that better now? Also might just be the way I'm. Wait a minute. Did I accidentally? Oh, Jesus. Well, that was part of the mistake there, was I had my low cut really, 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 really high on this mic, which shouldn't do. Anyway. How do I go about this? I've given dribs and drabs of this information out. So I don't know. Maybe it's not going to be, so most people will probably already know it. But so I've dealt with anxiety my whole life, as most people probably on the stream have. Oh, sorry, Stupor Mundi, you just meant good evening, like hello. Okay, well, good evening to you as well. So I've been suffering from anxiety most of my life. It's gone sort of up and down, right? There have been times where it's been very intense and where I haven't been able to work. And there have been times where I've found things that have allowed me to continue working. So obviously I've been in some kind of therapy or another, on and off, but mostly on, since first grade or even kindergarten maybe. But my dad was a psychiatrist, and that's, when I started having nightmares, sort of recurring nightmares and intense. You're in the shot, and that's not cool of you. Go over there. And intense recurring nightmares and anxiety. You see a hammer. When you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Got sent to a psychiatrist. So and I've been through, the majority of the SSRIs. And basically, and then maybe 22 years ago, maybe 21 years, I don't know, it was around the turn of that there old century. I got in an accident and I had a lot of pain and I was prescribed Vicodin. So, and for my anxiety, maybe a couple years later, I want to say this was around 2003, I was prescribed Klonopin for baseline and Xanax for breakthroughs. So, the only thing that has changed in those 20 odd years is instead of taking Vicodin now, I take Percocet. So I have for 20 plus years been taking opiate-based painkillers 3 times a day, every day, and been taking benzodiazepams for the same. There have been periods where I've stopped, but not long. And I also would be lying if I said that I didn't also have some off-label effects from the oxycodone that allow me to function in a better way. Now, why did I switch from Vicodin to oxycodone? It's because they do not make hydrocodone in a formulation that doesn't include either acetaminophen or ibuprofen. Now, I think the point of that is to stop people from. It's a binder. People would go through methods to separate it, to try and extract, the stuff they actually wanted, that their body was craving. But the reason that I did it was because it was I'm taking this medication, and I don't need the acetaminophen or the ibuprofen. So why am I going to put that through my liver every day? So yeah, I've got it right here. Whoops. Same thing that I've been taking, it's always, I'm very legal, right? And I have not increased my dosage in 20 years. And it has been something that has enabled me to deal with the physical pain. But in addition to that, the off-label effect that I'm talking about is it doesn't get me high in any way. What it does do is give me a more positive, focused outlook. And that is ephemeral. That is something that, like, it lasts for a few hours, and I can feel it. I can feel when it comes on, and I can feel when it goes away. I will, if I'm recording a video, I will make sure that I'm timing it to be within one of those windows. I can't really take it at night very much because it tends to keep me up. But so there, and I realize that I am like a different case, right? Like I am a special, unique snowflower. I'm a snowflower. I'm a special, unique snowflake who has somehow been able to take what are wildly heralded as two of the most addictive and life-destroying prescription medications that are available. Actually, three of them, right? Clonazepam, alprazolam, and oxycodone. For the better part of 2 decades, the majority of my working life, there was a period where I could not get out of bed without Klonopin and or Xanax. So I guess the reason that I'm talking about this is because it's the truth, right? It's what I do, and it is how I manage to stay high functioning. I think there are some things about this that, and this may just be me like looking for a reason to justify what it is that I do, but I don't know. I mean, I quit drinking right before, or maybe I don't remember exactly. Certainly quit drinking in the way that I was drinking, which was kind of a destructive way. I quit smoking. So there were a lot of things that this is dangerous and this is not meant, these are not meant to be long-term therapies. You're supposed to be taking Xanax or Klonopin for a couple months at most, and then you should transition on to an SSRI or, one of the more stable antidepressants because it's not as addictive, right? I've gone days without Klonopin, not noticed. But that's just me, right? I know, like when Jordan Peterson went through his benzo withdrawal and called it the most horrible thing of his life, when Stevie Nicks went through hers, called it the most terrible thing of her life. I don't know. I think it depends on who you are. I think, you can make these kind of general speaking, these generalities, kind of paint with this broad brush, what you can expect. But for me, it's always been kind of okay, right? There have been periods where I have not been able to take oxycodone, and it's been okay. It hasn't been great, but it's been okay. Now, I've been to doctors in the past, particularly because like I said, I moved a lot, especially when I was in game development. I moved a lot. So a lot of the challenge when I would move would be, well, I need to continue the treatment that I'm on because that's what's working. And sometimes, you would have to go to these places where it was obvious that people were there to either get medication and resell it or, distill it and inject it or do something, not so savory with it. And those I've always felt like in those instances, I've always felt very ashamed. It's been very difficult for me to find someone who was sympathetic to my situation, took the time to understand it, and was able to, either talk with me about like what the alternatives might be and how I might move into those alternatives, but not just sort of right out of the gate say, well, no, this can't happen anymore. It's been a very interesting experience for me that a lot of doctors who prescribe opiate-based medications, my point of view on it, which I understand is not the general point of view on it, is that a lot of them, there are definitely ones that I've been like, okay, this is a mill, essentially, right? But there have also been ones where it's been, you have terminal cancer patients who cannot get medication. And a lot of times what you have is like, you'll have pharmacists who are choosing not to fill, who are making the judgment not to fill these medications, even though you've been prescribed them and you were prescribed by a doctor. The pharmacist says, well, no, I'm not going to fill this. So, for me, it hasn't been a sort of make or break kind of thing, but I could certainly see where if you were in a situation where you were taking more and were more reliant on it, and you would go into some kind of heavy withdrawals if you didn't get what you needed, that this could be like a complete disaster, right? Total disaster for you. And so that's scary. And then getting lumped in with what they call, like drug-seeking behavior or whatever, that's been scary too. There's been certainly lessons that I've taken out of this, which are probably less than savory, that are kind of along the lines of know what to say and know what not to say. Because there are certain things that if you say them, a doctor essentially has to fire you as a patient. So, I guess my point is I do not espouse anybody who is not currently on or doesn't have a need for benzodiazepams or opiate painkillers to try them or to go seek them out. But people who have managed to be on a sort of maintenance program with them, I think, and maintain a high level of functionality, I guess that's the group that feels like personally demonized to me, and I realize this is just me, right? So, and were it to come down from on high, right, that well, we have to just basically stop prescribing X or Y kind of medication because it's killing people or whatever. People who are overdosing on it, and people who are gaming the system, and people who are getting more than they're supposed to, or taking more than they're supposed to, and they get addicted to it, and then that's a gateway to other more dangerous drugs. The day that happens is the day that I have to figure out what I'm going to do. And I mean, obviously what I'm going to do is just stop, right? And it seems like I don't want to tempt fate, but it does seem like I do have that ability. And I've kind of tested it to make sure that I am able to, from time to time, to make sure that I'm the one that's in control. There's a lot to get off my back. Let's see here. My liver enzymes are perfectly normal. So I'm of the opinion that, and this is obviously a layperson's point of view on this, but if you're taking Vicodin, right, and you've got 5 milligrams of hydrocodone in there and 500 milligrams of acetaminophen, and the lethal dose of acetaminophen is 4 grams, I believe. So if you're taking 4 Vicodin a day, you're taking half the lethal dose of acetaminophen every day. You're not anywhere near the lethal dose for hydrocodone. So the question that I guess kind of comes to me is, which is actually the dangerous ingredient there, and which is the one that is stressing your liver more? I don't know the answers to that, but there you go. Okay. Let's see what people are saying. Whoop. What? I'm not sure what happened here. I do drink a lot of water. I have. My current therapist will ask me about it, and then a couple months later will ask me about it again. I think I need a new therapist. I don't think she pays that much attention to what I'm saying. Yeah, that's not all the medications I take. I take a beta blocker. I take a statin. So yeah, I've got pretty much a cornucopia of things that I take to get through the day. Oh man, I wonder if the internet or if my connection went down, or if other people's went down. No, I didn't mean 1 or 2 days. I've gone significant amounts of time to test my forbearance. Well, forbearance is not a word. To test my ability to quit. Anyway. Right. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is the Phoenician Sailor channel. I am frippin' lost. I have kind of lost most of my motivation to do stuff on that channel. It's hard because I've done this. I've seen cognitive behavioral therapists. I've gone through I've been in therapy for 40 years. I'm not discounting that new and different therapists, but I have probably seen 20 therapists in my life. I've just done a lot. When it comes to trying different kinds of therapy, if you name an SSRI, it's very, very likely that I've tried it, and probably tried it more than once. Cognitive behavioral therapy for me was not very effective. Yeah. Anyway, so the Phoenician Sailor channel, right, I've been sort of losing interest in doing videos there for some time, and I'm not really sure how to get that back, or even if I should get it back, if I want to get it back. So for a while I was like, well, I don't want to live stream on that channel because people that are subscribed to that channel don't like live streams. But it turns out people just don't like anything I put up there anymore. So I guess what I'm wondering about is doing more live ASMR streams there, and possibly more streams like this there. And wow, the light looks so good on that skull. Doesn't that look good? Oh, I love it. And I really like this light too. Something else I've been to kind of go off on another tangent from a tangent. Something I didn't pay a lot of attention to. You go through stages, right? When you're kind of learning to light and learn to kind of create a scene. And one part of that I generally didn't pay attention to until recently was negative fill. I never really paid attention to negative fill very much. And the problem with that, well, one of the problems with that is you end up, especially if you have a lot of lights going, like I do right now. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 lights. There are 7 lights. There are 7 lights. So if you have a lot of lights going, like I tend to do, you get a lot of bounce. And you may not notice it, but the way that it manifests will be in a sort of desaturated, decontrasted image and possible bleed through of color that you may not even see when you're recording. But if you go to grade it, all of a sudden like some purple will come up somewhere and you'll be like, where did that come from? And it's because I had a purple light on the other side of me that bounced off the wall and hit me on this side, but I couldn't see it because it wasn't pushing that. But now I am pushing it and I'm seeing this purple and I don't like it and I want to get rid of it. How do you get rid of it? Negative fill. So like in this shot right here, right? Well, the ironic, I hope y'all realize that's ironic, don't tread on me flag that I used in a Negan video. I'll probably use it in other videos too. But this is it's actually covering up a whiteboard. So if I had left that uncovered by the whiteboard, then it would have spilled color everywhere. Here, let me show you something else. I just disconnected here so I can actually stand up and walk around. See how close I can get the mic while I'm doing this. Okay, so yeah, so you can see I have over here a bunch of black on the walls, kind of alternating sound absorbers, which is what you see all the way on the edge of the screen, and that kind of foam, but covering up the walls as much as possible with black. And the same on this side. You see some white wall there, but that's actually behind the curtain. But pretty much the same on this side. Trying to have as much black on the walls as possible. Put that back. And the point of that is, as I mentioned, the point of that is so that you don't have lights bouncing all over the place. Got to re-hook up here. You don't have lights bouncing all over the place, and you can get deeper shadows like the shadows here. I think if you look at earlier streams, you would see that like the shadows don't quite get as deep. And in the darkest color you might see in the scene would actually be, a bit above black, would be kind of gray. There's a door. The door is right over there. my gosh. Yeah, it's a fake plant. I'm sure you could tell. It's super light. Everything, pretty much everything in my house, or certainly in the basement ASMR rooms, they're just there for ASMR appearances. But anyway, so I've been experimenting a lot with negative fill. Oh, yeah. And so like I have a light way up there. Did I count that light? I don't think I did. Maybe I have 8 lights. I don't know. But anyway, negative fill, it is real, and it is something that if you're creating scenes and you want to have color focused on certain areas, and you want to use a lot of that, but you don't want to just wash out your entire scene, just, use as much stop your light from bouncing around when you don't want it to. Hey, Chandler Antil. I like that avatar. I like the spiral. Oh, that's sweet. Thank you. Everything in my house is black. No one understands me. Everything in my house is fake. No one understands me. There is quite a, I keep adding to this room, like more and more crap. And at this point, like a lot of it is just kind of like quality of life crap. I guess you can't see it from here, but even like having this extra arm in order to do binaural stuff. By the way, I do love those arms. I have like a little, you can hear it, but you can't see it. It's a shelf. It's where I now keep my switcher. Before, my switcher was kind of like under a bunch of shit. But I got this metal shelf that just has a little vise that you can attach to any stand. So my monitor stand, right now I have a single stand that has my monitor, has my mix pre, and then it has the shelf that the ATEM, which is the video switcher, is on. It's awesome. All right. I got something to say. Someone said they don't know who Rick Allen is. Here we go. Get hysterical. Something like that. I actually do like old Def Leppard. There's a Def Leppard song where the riff is. Yeah. It's called Wasted. There's a some old school Def Leppard. I like pre-Hysteria, even pre-Pyromania Def Leppard. They were at one point new wave of British metal until they discovered they could become really, really rich by going with Robert Mutt Lang and layering voices upon voices. And come on, Bring It On the Heartbreak. I mean, say what you will about hair metal and ballads, but Bring It On the Heartbreak, that song is insane. Like the harmonies of that chorus resonate with me to this day. Def Leppard was Was Def Leppard my first concert? I think Def Leppard was my first concert with Guns N' Roses opening. My recollection is Guns N' Roses got booed off the stage because this was before Sweet Child of Mine broke. But maybe I'm misremembering something. But yeah, Rick Allen had a car accident, lost an arm, developed a foot kit. But, he's still just playing kind of... Look, the drums on Hysteria were all triggers, right? Most of the... Well, I don't think most of the drums on Pyromania were, but, I don't want to be a jerky. He was a pretty four-on-the-floor drummer. He was pretty boots and cats. You know what I mean? Boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and... That was Rick Allen. So, and when he did a fill, it was always like dum 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 dum. So, I don't know. Yeah, I read somewhere where he said like he's become a better drummer since he lost his arm. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but Butterfly Composer is on a tear tonight. Oh man. Hocus Pocus. Oh, hello, by the way. And you learned English because of Guns N' Roses. Well, that's unfortunate. I do like Guns N' Roses, but their lyrics are pretty weak. I judge, I'm super judgy, and I judge like lyrical content when a lot of it is like, how many times does Axl Rose say me and you in a song? And it's like I or me and you. It's like I do this, but you do that, and I do this, and you do that. You tell me this, but I think that. It's always like this kind of oppositional kind of, especially like the later stuff. It's just like very formulaic. I hear people rip on Slash all the time. But the guy had, I guess Izzy Stradlin was the one who was coming up with the majority of the good riffs. Anyway, so what else can I show you? Oh yeah. Did I go through everything here? Hold on. I did. Okay. What do you all think about doing like another kind of creative extravaganza kind of thing? I don't know if it would be writing or drawing, art, some kind of art, poetry. Maybe it doesn't need to be, maybe it could be any of those things. What I worry about is like, and this is honestly like what's kind of worrying me about like reading stories, reading people's stories on the air a lot, is it feels a little exploitative to me. I know I joked before, hey, a new 742, good to see you. I know I joked before that that I was crowdsourcing material by doing the writing extravaganza. And there are a few stories that came out of that I'm like, you know what, this would really probably work if I did it as an ASMR video. And I have reached out to some people, and it's not, look, all the stories I thought were really good. Some of them lend themselves really well to being ASMR videos. And so that really is more the deciding factor there. I don't want anyone to feel bad about that. Lauren, you'd be interested. Man, Butterfly Composer. You gotta. Yes, exactly something like this, voice quills, like a multi-category thing. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, and then pick a winner from each category. That could work. I like that. I want to ponder a little bit because I want to think about, I feel like there were a couple of missed opportunities in the last one. I didn't want to distribute prizes in any way that was like merit related, because who am I to judge someone else's writing? I'm flipping nobody, so I'm not going to judge anyone else's writing. I'm certainly not going to judge someone else's poetry. Have I ever considered collabing with Frivolous Fox? Frivy doesn't like me. She is not a fan of moi. Oh, good night, Pavi. I've spoken to her just like in Twitter threads and stuff where basically if I call out, we have a bit of a disagreement when it comes to ear eating. Let's leave it at that. But no, I have not. I'm not really sure where the crossover would be there, or where the motivation would be on her end. Anyway, that's the saddest thing you've ever heard. That's the saddest thing you've ever heard. Oh, well, if that's the saddest thing you've ever heard, then I wish I were you. Although, I will say like collaborations in general do get me invested. You're playing off somebody. I mean, the most fun that I've had have been collaborations. Every collaboration I've done, I've enjoyed doing the actual art, the actual process of doing it. I've enjoyed them very much. So, yeah. But I haven't made a lot of friends. I tend to put my foot in my mouth quite a bit. And we all know what happens when you put your foot in your mouth. You end up with foot and mouth disease. Yeah, and to be clear, I like her, and I think her content is just fine. But I don't have a problem with sexual ASMR, period. Like, sexual ASMR, you do you, right? I think where we differ is I believe that ear-eating ASMR is sensual. And I would classify it as that. Not sexual, sensual, and intimate, and deliberately intimate. I don't think that she thinks that. I remember Epic ASMR. When you say negative ASMR content, Voice Quills, could you who is you know who? Oh, Ephemeral Rift. Yeah. Well, he did. He was doing FM radio years ago. So he didn't just start doing them, I don't think. Although, are they live? Is he actually doing them live? I think what I saw, they were pre-recorded. Oh, yes. Yes. Epic ASMR is the one from whom, when I did a search for a Voight-Kampf test, I think he was the only one that had one. I'm pretty sure I called him out. Yeah, Fred's voice is amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we all do that. Well, a lot of people do that then, right? I find horror to be very comforting. But I have sort of deliberately stopped doing any sort of kidnap scenarios, just because I just don't think it's very healthy for me. I don't know that it's really healthy for the people that watch. I don't really want to be associated with it that much. I'd still be all down for more, anesthesia awareness, like terrifying situations, ASMR in terrifying situations. Yeah. And kidnapping in the guise of I did a 16 Cloverfield Lane video where it's, sort of genuinely, honestly, with good intent. That's okay too. Let's see. What you got, Samantha? The character's personal adventure. So you find that intimate. I guess everyone has like their own definition of intimacy. I have no problem with intimacy or like being intimate in a way that is non-sexual, or also, but that can't be reasonably blurred. Like there's a line where the line is fairly clear, I guess is what I'm saying. I have no problem with that. I mean, that was just like a character confessing to a whole bunch of horrible shit that he had done, and trying to kind of tell a story with it. I'm fine with that. Where what I don't want to get into is like I am definitely talking to you, right? You, the person watching this, and I am doing this to you, and I am, I am laying in a bed with you, and just sort of, that's where I start to get uncomfortable. And I admittedly, I don't know where the line is, and I've gone over the line, and where I think the line is now, like there's stuff that, I've considered taking down before. There's stuff I have taken down, even stuff that has been up for a while. I don't think anything that I was going to take down, I think I've already taken down. And so there's stuff up there that is like, kidnap scenarios, and, the Mr. Jefferson stuff is probably, that's the worst offender of the bunch. Mr. Jefferson is the worst offender of the bunch. But it's weird. Like I feel less weird about killing the viewer than I would about like being intimate with the viewer. I'm fine with murdering the viewer. I have no problem with that. That's for me, that's fair game. I remember having a really long discussion with Paul about it when we were doing the Dream Team. The Dream Team was originally called the Suicide Squad, and what we did, the premise was that we came there as end-of-life practitioners. That's why it was a doctor and a priest. The doctor was there to administer the life-ending medications, and the priest was there to deliver last rites. And this was right around the time the movie Suicide Squad was coming out, and the idea was the video would be called Suicide Squad, and we would be helping the viewer die. And that's why we ended up doing it twice, because we did it once with the suicide premise, and a few days after I had driven home, Paul emailed me or texted me or something when he was very uncomfortable putting that out. But that was shortly after he had started doing ASMR for a living. So I totally get that, right? Like this was not my living this is something I was doing for fun, if there were some horrible repercussions from it, oh well, right? Like if he had those kind of repercussions, it would affect his family. So I totally got that. Yeah, I've thought about this too, Miz. I thought about how the camera would be under glass, and it would be like I would be giving some words, and then just putting dirt on top of the glass. It's similar to something that Ardra ASMR has done with the straw hole. And when I think about it, honestly, like my thought when I think about it is, that sounds messy and like a lot of work. So yeah. Wait, what? What is this about bunny stuff? Yeah, the viewer died, but it was unintentional. It was a mistake. It was not the intent. No, that's a good idea. But yeah, I already had it. I'm sure lots of people have already had that idea. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it's a good idea. Just that when I was evaluating it, the end point of my evaluations was not worth the trouble for one video that would get 15,000 views. I don't know. I don't know. Honey Blossom. I don't know who Honey Blossom is. Well, and like I said, Colorful, like I have no problem killing the viewer. I think that is A-okay. But, I'm not, I don't rely on what small amount of money. I don't make any money from this, right? Whatever money comes in has been spent many times over. Yeah. Anyway, so let's see, what else do I got? Do I have anything else? Yeah, I just think that what I might end up doing is moving some more live stream type stuff to the main channel. It won't affect this, right? I love this. I love the people. I love the conversation. I love like the stuff that we're doing together. I love the Discord and all the characters that have. Hey, Allie, Serendipity. All the characters that we've discovered, or discovered, sort of found in each other, and so it wouldn't affect this. It wouldn't be like in place of this or anything. It would be in addition to. But I do think I'm probably going to do something like this on the main channel soon. Leela Brune, hi, and goodbye. It's good to see you. There is a Joe Biden town hall. Did it? It already happened. Yeah, it happened at. Yeah, it happened at 8:00. Uh-oh. This page cannot be found. Come on, I want the 3 takeaways. Okay. What do we got here? There's legitimate questions people can ask if they worry about getting vaccinated. But the question should be asked, answered, and people should get vaccinated. But this is not a pandemic. What? Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Sorry, I'm just... maybe I shouldn't read this right now. Okay. Y'all wanna read something? So I think I got an email. I got more than one email. Samantha Q. Are you around, Samantha Q? Samantha Q. Samantha KYU. Samantha KYU. Paging Samantha KYU. Okay. If there is no Samantha oh, Samantha, there you are. Okay, Samantha, I am going to send you a link. So Samantha is not usually able to join us on Thursday nights because of work, but she is off tonight. And she had sent a message asking if she could read a story. And I say, let's do it. I got my soundboard loaded up. I am ready to go. You're going to have all kinds of this kind of stuff. You got it. Excuse me. That was my stomach. Oh, goodness. All right. Sending. I had somehow closed that. That's not cool at all. Fuck, Scott, what's wrong with you? Check your email, Samantha Q. And I will pull up a little story. Gotta be sure it's one that hasn't been read yet. All right. What do I have here that has not been read yet? That was read. I don't know who this is from. Hold on. Samantha Q is calling. Samantha Q is in the green room. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right. Oh, this is mine. This is not from the... Oh, that's an Edgar Allan Poe story. I gotta make sure that I'm actually picking stories that were... Alright, I'm just going to the writing contest one. Damn it. You know what? Carolyn may have left already, but Carolyn, in celebration, I think, of Carolyn getting a managing editor job at Kotaku, I think maybe we could read her story. That would be great. So I'm going to share that with Samantha Q. And Samantha, in a moment, you can tell me if I'm butchering your name. I kind of like reading people's story when they're not here. Oh, damn it, Carolyn's still here. All right, let's see if sound and stuff is working. Samantha.
What to do to diet today at a minute or two to two.
What? Hold on, that's really, really very loud and distorted. Hold on, can you talk a little further? Are you talking into a mic or are you... Okay, could you...
Just my built-in mic. Super loud, though.
Okay, that's better. I think now it's better. Can everybody hear that okay? Can you try... What, did I pronounce your name right, Samantha?
You did, yes.
Samantha Q.
Q owns the letter Q, so I have to do what I can.
Oh, okay. Can you try talking once more? I think I might.
What a to-do to die today at a minute or two to two.
Actually, can you turn it up a little bit now?
Turn it up a little bit. Yes. How's that?
Can you do your little voice check? What did it do
Check,
today?
check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Can you get any more volume than that?
Ooh, we are fully...
Fully volumated?
Yes, I can increase the volume just naturally.
No, that's
that's
just
my
distorting. Yeah, when you do that, it just distorts. So yeah, we'll just deal with the volume as is, which I think it's okay. It's just a little bit low. Let's see. People can hear it okay? Okay, people can hear it okay. So yeah, did you get the link to the story? We've never spoken before, have we?
Only in gaming.
In gaming? In gaming?
Yes, on the Discord, the Jackbox.
Oh, right. Yes. Were you one of the people that
not...
beat my ass? Did you not get a...
I do not have a story link yet. I am refreshing.
All right, let me double check.
Did you email it or share it through the Drive directly?
I shared it through Drive. It says that you're on it.
Okay.
But,
Let me see.
let me get a link and then just email it to you as well.
Aha.
You got it?
Got it. Sorry about that.
So, okay, so Carolyn is saying needs to be a disclaimer. The story is very different in genre and structure and aims than the other stories that have been read. That's great. Does it have ample opportunity for sound effects? That's... so do you have it up, Samantha? Are you ready to give it a shot?
I'm prepared.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the whole screen over to you, if that's okay with you.
Yes.
And then just go nuts and have fun. And you don't seem nervous.
Not yet. We'll see how it goes. I don't know how many funny voices I'm going to have to do, but we'll see.
Ooh, I hope a lot. Okay, so here reading... Oh, shit. What's the name of the story? I just closed the window that had the name. I think it's In Flight. Is it In Flight? Okay, so here reading In Flight by Carolyn Pettit is Samantha Q, and I am turning over the whole screen to you now.
All right. In Flight. I was born on November 2nd, 1976, the day Jimmy Carter was elected president. Did you know that, Susan? Sometimes I forget what I've already told you and what I haven't. When people ask me what's my sign, I wish I could just tell them that I was born on the advent of Carter. I think it would teach them more about me than any astrology has to offer. Of course, the first president I actually remember was Reagan, but I was much too young to understand him. It would be a long time before I grasped that there was no place for me in all the high-riding prosperity of the 80s, that most of the malls I frequented as a youth would be ghost towns in my adulthood. In his speech on July 15th, 1979, Jimmy Carter said, "We've discovered that owning things and consuming things does not satisfy our longing for meaning. We've learned that piling up material goods cannot fill the emptiness of lives which have no confidence or purpose." I don't know how anyone can hear those words and not sense the wisdom in them. And yet Americans of the time scoffed in response. We chose instead Reagan's shiny, empty promise of things. We chose a death march into the maw of capitalism, forgoing compassion and communion, and even as the ground beneath our feet grows shakier and shakier, we've never really looked back. Some of us have been left unmoored by life in a world that feels all wrong to us, wanting to scream that this isn't how we're meant to live, but we know there's no one to hear us. We know we'll seem like the crazy ones. If I'm honest, I'm so scared that I'll be drifting like this forever, that I'll never find a place to belong. I go to acupuncture when I can afford it because it's one of the only times my body learns to relax in this world that keeps me afraid. I can feel safe in that chair, the needles working their magic on my nervous system, knowing that for a brief time, I have nowhere else I need to be. During my acupuncture appointment last week, I was floating in that fleeting space where my body briefly remembers what it is to let go of fear. My mind conjured a vision of a locomotive chugging through a vast desert. I glimpsed it from high above, as if I was flying in one of those biplanes you see in period dramas like Out of Africa and The English Patient. The track was just a black strand, a little ribbon against the sand dunes far below, which were tinged pink by the light of a dream sunset. I don't know why I'm telling you this, Susan. I guess it's because I want you to know me. But I'm not sure what that means. What can I tell you that will show you who I am? Is it facts about me, like where I was born, my parents' names, the shitty jobs I've had? Is it my political convictions, my memories, the images that stay with me upon waking on those rare occasions when I dream? Sometimes when I'm on a plane and I can see the patchwork quilt of farmland far below, the scattered small towns, I feel like it's not too late for us. For you and me, I mean, but also for us as a country. Looking down on America from that remove, you can really see what capitalism has done to us. You can see the potential that still exists for us to choose another way of living, another notion of what it means to be a country. But I always lose that feeling again upon landing, when I'm forced to see who we are up close. My anxiety drives me to do strange things, sometimes in a search for feelings of safety. Lately I've become obsessed with this one YouTube channel that produces detailed recreations of plane crashes. It's probably not good for me, but I keep on watching them. Maybe it's the psychological equivalent for me of how some people cut themselves just to feel something. I won't deny that my constant loneliness and fear induces a kind of numbness sometimes that the beauty of everyday life cannot always penetrate. But imagining the terror passengers must feel once it's clear that they're doomed to slam into the earth at hundreds of miles an hour, maybe it shakes me up a little bit, pierces the fog, makes me grateful to still be alive, even in this life that's so bereft of the things that make life worth living. Maybe it's a twisted kind of reminder that good things can still happen for me. At any moment, for reasons we can't control or predict, things could go well for any of us or go very, very wrong. Life's a hell of a lottery. Everything in the videos is tinged with the kind of tragic inevitability afforded by history. We know that airliner will plunge into the Atlantic. We know those two planes will collide over Cerritos in spite of the vastness of the empty sky around them. It has always happened this way. There is no other way this ends. And some of us are marked for such a fate as well. We just don't know it yet. And as long as we don't know it, we can still hope for that one day things in our lives will get better. There's a meticulous, painstaking quality to the videos. Each moment is given its due. Often there's a good deal of time before the first warning signs of impending disaster even arise. You can see the plane flying above the clouds, its frame glistening in the sun, and because it's a video, you can always go back to that moment. You can live in it, hovering right there, in that time when it still seemed that life stretched before the passengers in all its possibility. There are so many moments in my life I wish I could go back to, dwell in. Moments with you, mostly. Of course, in many of those videos, we learn that dozens or even hundreds of people died in the disaster being depicted. But sometimes the planes land safely with no loss of life despite facing a crisis. Or sometimes fate picks just one person or a handful of people to perish while others aboard must bear witness to the horror of their final moments and then carry on with their own lives, knowing it could have been them. These are often the details that affect me the most. For instance, in April of 1988, a large section of the fuselage of an Aloha Airlines jet was torn off in mid-flight. And remarkably, the only casualty was a flight attendant who was sucked out of the plane. I think about how lonely she must have been, falling through the sky, selected solely by the whims of fate among everyone on that plane for instantaneous exile. What was it like for her, knowing this was it, knowing that she was forever beyond the reach of her fellow human beings? Anyway, Susan, I don't want to be alone anymore. I want my presence on this planet to mean something to somebody. So I'm coming to see you, and to see Boston, the city you now call home. Maybe it's not too late for us to get back what we had, or better yet, to create something new. Maybe being in Boston, of all cities, where the past of this country is on such grand display, I'll see some reason to hope for my own future in it. I board my plane at SFO, and prior to takeoff, I do my mindful breathing exercises, trying to stay calm, stay rooted in my body. As I feel the plane accelerate and ascend, I imagine that I'm being cradled in the hands of a towering, benevolent figure, that I am safe and protected, and being gently carried from one end of America to the other. It strikes me that we should feel that way all the time, like there's someone looking out for us. But we don't. There isn't. Not really. It's nice to pretend sometimes, though. I keep up the visualization for some time, maybe 40 minutes, maybe an hour and a half. But eventually I have to open my eyes, get up, make my way toward the front of the plane, the atmosphere feeling hushed like a library as many passengers have their nose in books or lost in laptop screens. How liminal, how surreal it is to be among others at a cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. And then there's a shudder and a scream of metal and a terrible roaring of air, and all I know is that one instant I'm there, my feet firmly planted in the airplane's aisle, my fellow passengers crowded around me in neat groups of 3 on each side, and the next instant they're already hundreds of feet away, and more every moment, the plane's shimmering frame receding in a jittery fast forward, and I'm flipping and tumbling, and far below me the world seems to twirl like a kaleidoscope, and the vastness of the sky is terrible in the way it makes me feel insignificant. And the plane which I was a part of only seconds ago is now a receding speck, and now it's gone, and I'm back to being truly alone, and there is no benevolent being or social safety net that can help me. I'm out of reach and falling fast over squares of American farmland which are rapidly getting bigger, and I start to see some railroad tracks weaving through whatever part of Utah or Wyoming or Nebraska is rushing up to meet me, and I see or think I see a passenger train, and though I'm far too disoriented to know which way is which, I fancy it's heading east towards you, and I imagine myself skydiving with intention right towards it, and landing safely atop it, and taking in the scenery of this majestic and rotten country as it carries me ever closer to you, and I imagine the weeks and months and years unfolding ahead of us, filled with poignant purple sunsets and backyard barbecues and bottles of wine and triumphs and failures and the two of us doing our best to love each other. But of course this will never really happen. It's a fantasy of life lived in the blink of an eye, but I want it. I want it so much. I want to dwell in the months and years and decades to come with you. I want to linger on a weekend morning. I want to call you home. But I can't. I can't ever do that. And the weight of decades worth of unspoken words rattles in my ribcage like a million Scrabble tiles as I twist and twirl and plunge. I can't send you these words, but I hope at least I can send you this love. I hope that when my body cracks open against the earth, the love hisses out like steam and flies to you, its true home, and that you feel it there with you on hard days in this ruthless world. Maybe then I'll have contributed something of value to life on this planet after all. I thought I had time. I thought I had so much more time, but it's almost gone, and the dots are turning into moving cars and grain silos and churches, and all the sights of people living their lives together with their feet firmly planted on the earth, and I'll never know what that's like again. And I hope it's quick. And I hope I don't feel it. And my brain is like a radio screaming static as it tries to pick up a station, and I can't even comprehend the speed which the world is rising, and here it comes, and oh God, at any moment, now, 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 I'll hit the ground.
Wow. That was an amazing reading, Samantha. That was a really, really well done. And a horrifying story, especially if you have a fear of planes. I was trying, as I mentioned, I was trying to be funny at the beginning, and then as about a quarter of the way through it, I was like, oh no, this is not something to make light of in any way. But that was incredible. Wow. Have you ever done any kind of like, can I ask what you do for, what you do, or did you do anything like reading? It seems like you were very good at this.
Well, thank you. I teach tiny children English in Japan, so I guess that's a kind of daily performance. But
how is that frustrating?
No, not at all. It's
No.
it's delightful.
Yeah. So you live in Japan. I guess that would make sense. Although are schools in session? I guess now they're. Well, wait. Are schools in session now?
They are here. I'm on an island so remote. It's where the Christians went to flee persecution when it was illegal. So there isn't even any COVID here. That's how isolated I am. So we're doing fine.
Wow. What's the population about, you know?
My particular village is 2,000 mostly elderly people.
But some young kids that want to learn English as well. Wow.
Yes.
And you managed to keep COVID off the island completely. That's impressive. And good job. But really, that was a great reading. It just seemed like you were natural. It seemed like you'd read the story a bunch of times before. You just kind of like knew the cadence right off. Yeah, that was great.
I love that the story in literal time, it all took place probably in an instant, in this instant when you know what's coming and you know what's going to happen, but there was such a huge rush condensed into that tiny space, knowing what's coming and wanting to send your love where it belongs.
Right. And hoping that the moment of death, like something happens at the moment of death that allows you to be accepting of it in some way, right? Hopefully, I mean, it'd be nice if we were not terrified in our last moment alive. But who can know? Yeah. That was great. Thank you so much, Samantha. I really appreciate that. So you sometimes work these nights. Is that also at school, or is it? Wait, is it? I don't know what the time zone is. I don't know what time is it there.
It is 11 a.m. on Thursday morning, so I'm always working, but today is Ocean Day, so I get the day off.
Ocean Day. Is that a Japanese holiday, or is that more specific to? I don't know anything about Ocean Day. Is that more specific to the island that you're on?
I think all of Japan. I don't know if any other countries are on board, but the ocean deserves a holiday.
Is that what it is? It's basically like celebrating the existence of the ocean and maybe not whaling that day or something. I don't know. Is there anything that goes on? Like, is there a celebration, like any kind of like traditional celebration that goes on Ocean Day that you know of?
I asked my kids to explain Ocean Day traditions, and they were like, I don't know, we just sort of look at the beautiful ocean and say yay. And I was like, okay, I can do that.
That's great.
That tradition.
I mean, that, or take a dip, or whatever. That's. I would like to celebrate Ocean Day. Oh, wow. Well, thank you very much, Samantha, for that. That was great. And thank you, Carolyn. That was a great story that it's not doing anything for my fear of flying, but that's fine. I need to be exposed to these kinds of things. I hope you have a good Ocean Day and a good lunch. I guess it would be about lunchtime for you. Is that right?
Well, thank you very much for having me, and thank you for hosting this. And I wanted to tell you earlier, I know you said you're lacking motivation for the main channel lately, but thank you for all the archives and for helping me sleep. It's so important and so appreciated, and in addition to all the creativity, like that element of it alone, that help is...
I really appreciate that, Samantha. I have not given up. I'm just in a period where I'm just not, like, when it comes time to hit that record button, I just don't want to do it. I'd rather do this. Like, maybe that's the problem. I've found something I enjoy better. So, and it uses a lot of the same equipment. So I was already set up for it. But in any case, I do. Whoa. Sorry, I think can you hear anything right now? Sorry, hold on 1 second.
Oh, there we go.
Oh. I just hit something so that music was playing really, really loud in my in-ear monitors. I have no idea what it was, but I'm hoping nobody heard it. It was Metallica, old Metallica. Anyway, okay, thank you very much, Samantha Q, and hope you have a good Ocean Day, and we'll talk in the chat.
Thank you very much.
Take care. That was lovely. It really was. Carolyn, spot on. Really, really good job. I obviously did not expect anything less. But I appreciate good trauma. A good bit of traumatic short story every once in a while. I'm glad you didn't hear the music cue. Yeah. You couldn't even hear it bleeding through. I guess these are good in-ear monitors because it was loud as heck. Yeah, this is what Ava, that's what I was thinking too. It was just like the cadence was kind of mesmerizing. I was right into it. But yeah, anyway, thank you very much. I think probably going to wrap it up for the night, coming up on 2.5 hours. And I'm hearing something. I'm hearing interference. It's probably Bluetooth or a helicopter. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah. Carolyn, do you have a fear of flying? Because that like, I would just stay. That's brave. If you have a fear of flying, and you write something like that, damn. What was it? There was a movie. Oh yeah, Fearless. I think with Jeff Bridges back in the 90s. Lots of movies, and then Castaway. Lots of movies contributed to my fear of flying. Oh, I loved it. So, Voice Quills posted. I don't know what I would call it, right? Like short form. It's prose. I don't know what I'd call it. Ooh, next stream is Mrs. Birthday, but I loved it. Voice Quills. Okay. So you're not as brave as I thought. That's fine. Mrs. Birthday next week. So be sure to stick around or come by next week. I do want to go ahead and establish something for some new kind of contest. But maybe if you're on the Discord, maybe that'd be a good place to gather some feedback on that. I don't want it to be, like I said, I just don't want it to feel like it, well, I don't want it to be something that I'm scouring for content. I'd rather go down in a ball of flames than, which is not to say I'm not into working with people to create things, but I don't want to, like, in a kind of slimy way, take stuff from people and be using that to kind of fill time, which is not, it's not filling time. Again, that sounds negative. I can't win kind of describing this. I think you all know what I mean. I don't want it to be exploitative in any way. I don't want it to seem that way, and I don't want it to be that way. So that's really what the deal is with that. But gonna mull it over, and if you all have any ideas, well, Voice Quills already had a great idea. I think may adopt that. But shoot them over on the Discord. I think everybody right here is on the Discord right now, so that works well. And I will see you all next week, unless another gaming stream pops up, or maybe live ASMR. That would be on the other channel, but I might do it. I'm thinking about it. We'll see. Okay. Have a good night, everyone, and I will talk to you all soon.